Hi guys, and welcome back to another championship prediction video. Round 45, so we're right near the end of the season now. Only 2 rounds to go. Some people have a few extra fixtures, but we're really at the business end. These sort of fixtures now, these rounds decide people's seasons. Now, last time out, I got 2 scores correct. Bournemouth drawing with Fulham 1-1, thanks to a 98th minute penalty for Bournemouth, so pretty lucky with that one. And Sheffield United beating Cardiff 1-0. Now, last time out, on my last championship prediction video, 1.9k views. Thank you to everyone who clicked on it and for all the support on the channel. I've never hit over 400 views in a single video, so I was very happy with that. I'm going to set a like goal for this one. Can we hit 15 likes? That'd be great. And I'm hoping just to keep building, getting views, and some more subscribers will hopefully follow. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button below for all the up-to-date content. Let's get into the predictions. And starting off with QPR taking on Sheffield United. Now QPR, they've lost 8 out of their last 11. They lost their last game 1-0 against Stoke. And it's ruled them out of the playoff race now. So after a very great start to the season, they look like they could have snatched second. They've just had a very bad end that they'll want to forget about. And they're not going to get playoffs anymore unless a miracle happens, basically. Sheffield United, they're sitting in 6th place. And they've only lost 1 out of their last 5. They won their last game 1-0 against Cardiff. And I see the same here. Sheffield United win 1-0. Barnsley take on Preston next. And Barnsley have got nothing to play for now as they're officially relegated. They haven't won in 7 and they've lost 3 in a row. Preston, they've lost 2 in a row and they've lost their last 3 away games in a row. So not great away form from Preston. Barnsley just not good form in general. So I'm feeling a draw, 1-1. A very big game in terms of the playoffs and automatic promotion here. Blackburn take on Bournemouth. And Blackburn, they have to at least match Sheffield United's result to stay in the playoff race. Now Blackburn, they hadn't won in 5. And then they beat Preston 4-1 to stay in the race. Bournemouth, unbeaten in 5, 4 of those being draws. And their last game, they were 3-0 down against Swansea and managed to pull it back in the last 20 minutes to 3-3, which is great spirit from this team. 3-0 down, you know, you just sort of, at that stage, would be like, okay, let's try and make sure no others go in. Let's maybe get a consolation goal. They went and got a point out of that game. Fair play to Bournemouth. And this is such an interesting game because of, you know, Forest chasing Bournemouth and Blackburn needing a good result to stay in the playoff race, or at least, you know, to match Sheffield United. So for this one, I think Blackburn might give it one last push. They're back in it, you know, they're hanging on. I think they're going to give it a last push, but this Bournemouth side don't look like losing at the moment. They show spirit and they get back into games like that one against Swansea. So I'm going to go down the middle, 1-1. Blackpool take on Derby next. And Blackpool, they're unbeaten in 3. And they beat already relegated Barnsley 2-0 in their last match. Derby, also relegated. They've lost 2 in a row. So I'm going to go here for Blackpool to win 2-1. Bristol City take on Hull next. And Bristol City are unbeaten in 4. And they won their last one 3-1 against Derby. One thing you can always rely on Bristol City for is goals in their game. Hull, they've won 3 out of 4. Beat Reading 3-0 in the last one. So I'm going to go for goals. I think it's going to be one of those, you know, on the beach, crazy games. Maybe not really crazy with my scoreline, but 2-2. Cardiff take on Blues now. And Cardiff have lost 4 in a row. Their latest game, 2-0 loss against Middlesbrough. Blues, we had lost 3 in a row, but then we drew 2-2 against Millwall, and we were 2-1 up, and then the ref added on a ridiculous amount of time, and they got a last-minute penalty. Well, after the time had run out, but it was strange because I didn't expect that sort of performance from us. I thought we were going to get battered, to be honest. And if we can have another performance like that, I think we're very capable of beating this Cardiff side that are in poor form. So I'm going to go for Bowyer to have pretty much an unchanged lineup to try and keep that sort of performance going. Blues to win 1-0. Coventry take on Huddersfield next. 2 teams that I believe have really overperformed this season, so fair play to the teams, have really done well. Coventry, they drew their last game 0-0 with West Brom and ultimately are out of the playoff race now, but still a very good season from them. Huddersfield, they've won 4 out of 5. That run has guaranteed them a playoff spot, and in their last 4 matches, they've scored 2 goals in each of them. So I'm going to go for the same here. Huddersfield to win 2-1. Middlesbrough take on Stoke next. And Middlesbrough realistically need to match Sheffield United's result to stay in the playoff race. Although I think they can afford to pick up 1 less point than them. So if Sheffield United draw and Middlesbrough lose, they're still in it. But realistically, they need to match Sheffield United's result at least. Now, Middlesbrough won their last game 2-0 against Cardiff after 5 without a win. And they're playing a Stoke side that have won 5 out of their last 7, so in really good form, won 2 in a row, both 1-0. So it's difficult. Middlesbrough were very, very good at home, but they've slipped up the last few times at home with a few losses. But I think Middlesbrough, they've got everything to play for. They're going to throw it all at Stoke and pick up a low-scoring 1-0. Millwall take on Peterborough next. And Millwall, unbeaten in 4, and they've only lost 2 out of their last 10 matches. Their last game was a 2-2 draw with Blues. Peterborough, they lost 1-0 to Nottingham Forest, which means that they're relegated. They had picked up the form, to be honest, and only losing 1-0 to Forest at the moment is actually pretty good because Forest seem to be flying through everyone. So Peterborough had picked up the form, but sadly wasn't enough, and they're relegated. So for this one, I think with Millwall having things to play for, Peterborough will put up a bit of a fight. I think they want to try and get that 22nd position, just so that they were close. But I think Millwall are going to win this 2-1. Another massive match now in terms of the automatic promotion race. Forest take on Swansea. And Forest, they won 1-0 against Fulham away. Brilliant result. And they've won 8 out of their last 9. They are absolutely flying. Steve Cooper has done an incredible job. Put down in the comments, do you think Forest will get second place? It's so interesting. And that match in midweek next week is going to be so big. But Forest are brilliant at the moment. But they're playing a Swansea side that are unbeaten in 9. So they are very, very good at the moment as well. However, Swansea drawn 4 in a row. 2 of them, they threw away big leads. They were 4-1 up against Reading, drew 4-all. 3-0 up against Bournemouth, drew 3-all. So Swansea are struggling to hold on to leads. But that's ultimately put them out of the playoff race now, because if they'd have won 2 of those matches, they'd be right up there. But they're out of the playoff race, which means now that they've got nothing to play for, are they going to just sort of expect Forest, because they're going for it, to fully push, and Swansea are just sort of going to sit back and just try and have a bit of fun rather than pull out all the good results they've been doing so far to get that unbeaten run? I don't know how it's going to go, but I think some of Swansea's players will sort of, relax a bit more now. So I'm going to go Forest to win 2-1. Reading play West Brom now, and Reading, they lost 3-0 to Hull, but it doesn't matter because they're now safe, so they can relax. Great job that Paul Ince has done there to keep them up, because at one point they looked destined to go down really. They couldn't stop losing. but he's turned it around and they're now safe. West Brom, they drew 0-0 with Coventry and are currently sitting in the bottom half on goal difference, which is very disappointing for the West Brom fans to be in that position. I think they would have expected at least playoffs. I thought they'd get automatics, to be honest, with that team, but they've really struggled and they might not even get a top half finish, which would be a disaster of a first season back in the Championship. In this one, I think Reading are still gonna, they've got a bit on the break, haven't they? Lucas João, John Swift, very good players. They can score. So I'm gonna go down the middle, 1-1. And finally, Fulham take on Luton. Now Fulham, they're promoted. So they've lost 3 out of their last 5, but I repeat, they're promoted. So I don't really think they care too much. I think they know that no one's going to catch them for the title. So everything's sort of wrapped up anyway. So they're just having a bit of a break. They're probably planning for next season rather than, worrying about the pitch. They're just saying to players, don't do anything silly, don't get badly injured. They did lose their last game 1-0 to Forest though, which Bournemouth won't be too happy with, because Bournemouth drew with them the week before and nearly lost if it wasn't for a 98th minute penalty. So Forest are really gaining on Bournemouth thanks to that victory against Fulham. Now, Fulham are playing a Luton side that haven't yet secured playoffs, but they've only lost 1 out of their last 8, drew their last game 1-1 with Blackpool, and realistically, they need 1 more point to secure a playoff position, which is a massive season for them. And I think while Fulham are relaxing a bit, Luton are going to get that point. So I'm going to go 1-1. So, those are my predictions for these Championship fixtures. Let me know down in the comments what your predictions are, and the main thing, who's going to get second place. Let me know down below and your reasons why. Make sure to like the video, let's hit that like goal of 15 likes, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more Championship content. Up the Blues.